Hello viewers, welcome to K Diagnostics, Dio here. Today we have a 2005 Ford Freestyle with a 3.0 liter. The customer complaint on this vehicle is the check engine light remains on the dash while the engine is running. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go in the vehicle and confirm the customer's complaint. After confirming the customer's complaint, we're gonna connect a scan tool to the vehicle to see what kind of trouble codes we have in the engine computer. So now let's go in the vehicle and confirm the customer's complaint. So as you can hear, the engine is running and the check engine light remained on the dash. So right there, check engine light remains on. So customer's complaint confirmed. So now I'm gonna turn off the engine. We have confirmed the customer's complaint. I'm gonna turn the key on. I'm gonna get the scan tool connected to the vehicle. After I get the scan tool connected, I'll bring you guys back up. I got the scan tool connected to the vehicle, so I'm gonna bring it up. Now let's scan the engine computer and see what we got. So here's what we got. We have 3 trouble codes in the engine computer. The first trouble code is P0158 and it says O2 sensor bank 2 sensor 2 circuit high voltage. And then the second one is P1000 OBD2 system checks incomplete. And then the last one is P2272 bank 2 sensor 2 O2 signal stuck lean. So it looks like we have a problem with the second O2 sensor on bank 2. Okay, now over here the sensor circuit voltage was stuck high and here it was stuck lean. So when the sensor sticks high, it sends a rich signal. Okay, when it sticks high, it sticks around 800 or 900 millivolts, and when it sticks low or lean, it sticks around 300 or 200 millivolts, which is a lean signal on a conventional O2 sensor. Okay, and I believe the O2 sensor after the CAT, which is the second O2 sensor, is a conventional narrowband O2 sensor. Okay, so this over here is most likely caused by a defective sensor. Okay, this is going to be caused by either a defective sensor or a problem in the wiring, but I don't think a problem in the wiring would cause the sensor to set a lean code or a voltage high trouble code. So it looks like this sensor is going bad. So let's scroll down and see what else we have. We got 0 codes on these control units, so that's good. And over here on the generic side of the tool, we have the same 2 trouble codes, P0158, O2 sensor circuit, high voltage bank 2 sensor 2, P2272, O2 sensor signal, biased stuck lean, bank 2 sensor 2. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go into the engine computer. We're gonna look at the data. We're gonna focus on the O2 sensor data. The O2 sensor after the catalytic converter on bank 2. So we're gonna customize this list. I just wanna look at my data PIDs from my after CAT O2 sensors. Okay, my post CAT O2 sensors. So we got O2 sensor bank 2 sensor 2 and O2 sensor bank 1 sensor 2. So these are the only O2 sensors I want to look at. Actually, I can also grab the pre-CAT O2 sensors just for the heck of it. So now let's list these PIDs. We're gonna graph these. So right off the bat, I see a difference. What do you guys see, guys? What do you see? Look at all this data. Key is on, engine is off. So this O2 sensor over here, okay, O2 sensor bank 1 sensor 1 is reading 0 millivolts. Okay, O2 sensor bank 1 sensor 2 is reading 0 millivolts. O2 sensor bank 2 sensor 1 0 millivolts, but O2 sensor bank 2 sensor 2 is reading 62 millivolts, and we have some type of activity over here. Okay, so this is why we have the trouble code, because this O2 sensor is sticking. Okay, so right now it's putting out a voltage that shouldn't be there. Okay, well, you might say maybe it's the bias voltage. No, it's not. Okay, there's something wrong with this sensor. All these sensors with the key on, engine off, they should all pretty much show the same value. Okay, now I'm going to start the engine. We're gonna focus on these two data PIDs over here. These two data PIDs are the O2 sensors after the catalytic converter. So these two sensors, if both of our catalytic converters are good, they should pretty much mirror each other. So now I'm gonna start the engine. So as you can hear, the engine is running. Okay, so we got nothing on this one. We have some activity over here. So let's watch these two graphs. We are focusing on these two graphs, and let's see. I'm gonna rev up the engine a little bit. Okay, so we have a rich signal up here, but we have a lean signal down here. Okay, and our pre-cat O2 sensors are technically mirroring each other, which is good. Okay, and it just jumped all of a sudden, so it went from lean up to rich. Did you see this jump over here? Okay, so this is a lazy O2 sensor. This O2 sensor is not reporting the correct oxygen content in the exhaust stream. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to drive these O2 sensors lean, and then we're gonna see how fast this O2 sensor is gonna correct. Okay, I'm gonna do that by pumping the brake pedal. Okay, we're gonna pump the brake pedal. Now watch these graphs. You see how all these O2 sensors are going lean right now? Okay, so all these three are going lean, but this one is showing us a rich mixture. Okay, so I'm gonna let off, so they will all peg rich. And this one is showing us 1500 millivolts. This is crazy. Well, guys, this is a sensor problem. Okay, I don't even have to check the wiring. I don't think we have a wiring issue over here. We have a sensor that's bad. Okay, it's sending a skewed signal to the engine computer. Okay, we have a bad sensor, because these two sensors over here should mirror each other, just like these two sensors before the catalytic converters. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn off the engine. We're gonna get to the sensor. We're gonna look at the sensor connector, and after that we can check the wiring if we want to. We don't have to. Based on what I'm looking at here, I can tell with pretty much 100% surety that this sensor is sticking. Okay, we have a lazy O2 sensor. So I'm gonna turn off the engine. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, this over here is too much. The O2 sensor, the second O2 sensor on bank 2 is showing us 1665 millivolts. So 1600 millivolts, which is unheard of. Okay, so this sensor is bad. We're gonna check the wiring, okay, just in case. We're just not gonna replace the sensor. We're gonna check the wiring, and after that, we're gonna go ahead and replace this sensor, okay? So now let's figure out where bank 2 is so we can go test this sensor. So we're gonna back out, added component test so we can figure out which bank is bank 2. So let's go to engine. So this is pretty straightforward and pretty easy, guys. So right there, here is our cylinder layout. So bank 1 is going to be the bank against the firewall, and then bank 2 is going to be the bank in front of the vehicle, okay, next to the front of the vehicle. So now let's go under the vehicle and test the wiring of the O2 sensor after the catalytic converter on bank 2. So now let's go under the vehicle. This over here is bank 2, the bank in front of the vehicle. This is our catalytic converter, and this is the O2 sensor after the catalytic converter, okay? So bank 2 sensor 2. Now here is its electrical connector. We're gonna do our test over here, okay? At the wiring of the sensor, we're gonna do our test on the sensor side. Okay, I'm pretty sure this is gonna need a sensor, but let's test the wiring first before we replace the sensor. I'm going to back probe all these wires, and then we're gonna watch the voltages that we have on these wires on the lab scope. If everything looks good, then we're gonna replace the sensor. Okay, I'm gonna get all these wires back probed, and then I'll bring you guys back up. I got all the wires at the O2 sensor connector back probed. We are back probing on the sensor side. Okay, so everything looks good. So now let's set up our lab scope, and after that we're gonna start the engine. So let's make sure that we are making connection. So let's go to mirror. Okay, so we're gonna use these first 4 channels. Okay, so we're making connection. Okay, so we got these 4 channels turned on. Okay, now we're gonna adjust our voltage over here. We're gonna come down to 20 volts. Perfect. All right, so now we're gonna start our deep record. I'm gonna go in the vehicle and start the engine. All right, so let's see what we got. Okay, so as you can see, we have activity over here on the lab scope screen. So let's pause this. Now let's go to mirror. Okay, so as you can see, look at the first 4 channels. Okay, so our green trace is our supply voltage to the sensor heater, and then our red trace is our sensor signal. Okay, and this over here is our sensor ground, the yellow trace, and the blue trace is actually our heater ground. So we have good voltages on the O2 sensor wiring. So this over here tells me that the wire is good. Okay, so this red trace is our sensor signal. All right, you see how it's going right now. It's showing a high voltage, a rich mixture right now. Okay, so this tells me that our sensor wiring is good. The problem is a bad sensor. Okay, if we go back to deep record, let's unfreeze this. Okay, so this is our hero command. So let's pause this and let's grab our zoom window. Okay, so we definitely have some activity over here, and we have some voltages on these traces, and these wires are coming from the engine computer. Okay, so any voltage on these wires means that there's good circuit integrity from the computer to the sensor. Okay, so I'm gonna turn off the engine so we can replace this sensor. So this sensor is bad. Okay, the wiring is good. So now let's turn off the engine. Alright guys, I did get a new O2 sensor. Here it is. This is the part number. So this is what we're gonna install. So now let's unplug this sensor first. Alright, so here comes our O2 sensor. So I'm gonna get it out of the way. So now we're gonna install our brand new O2 sensor. We're gonna put a little bit of this anti-seize compound that they provide. We just have to put just a little bit on the threads. Because if you put too much of it, it's going to touch the sensing element here, and that can prematurely damage the new O2 sensor. Okay, all right, so we're good to go. So now we're gonna screw the new one in, just like that. We have to make sure that it starts by hand first, and we thread it all the way before we use our socket. Always make sure you tighten the O2 sensor without its electrical connector being connected. So now we're going to tighten it. All right. So the O2 sensor is tightened. So now we're going to feed this connector up here so we can connect it to the harness just like that. Okay, so now we gotta hook up this plastic holder over here so that the connector can hang up. So just like that. So now let's lower the vehicle and start the engine so we can verify our repair. The check engine light is gonna remain on because I haven't erased the trouble codes yet. So I'm gonna bring up our scan tool. Let's go to our engine computer. We're gonna graph our O2 sensors after the cat. So look at that now. How does this look? Does it look like they're both mirroring each other now? This looks good to me, guys. This is fixed. Okay, so this is good, guys. This looks good. The problem was just the O2 sensor, and as you can see on the O2 sensors after the catalytic converter, okay, the one on bank 2 is reading right now, is showing us 747 millivolts, and the one on bank 1 is 726 or 28 millivolts. Okay, so they're basically showing us the same value. So the ones before the catalytic converter are mirroring each other, and the ones after the catalytic converter are mirroring each other now. Okay, so this is fixed. I'm gonna turn off the engine. Let's turn the key on. So we're gonna go to trouble codes. We're gonna clear the codes. So we have cleared the codes. Let's read the code again. Let's go to pending codes. Right there, no codes present. So we're good to go. I don't have to test drive this. So now I'm gonna start the engine. The check engine light is gonna be off. Okay. So that's good. This is fixed, guys. So now I'm gonna turn off the engine so we can wrap up this video. Alright guys, I'm gonna leave this right over here. This vehicle is fixed. This vehicle needed an O2 sensor on bank 2. We did the test. We determined that the sensor was defective. We replaced the sensor. Now all is well. I hope you liked the video. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you gotta tell me why so we can make better videos in the future. If this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. Thanks for watching. See you next time.